So today in our Broward College podcast, we have Luis and Adrian from Reef, a company based in Spain that has been groundbreaking in the last year, producing high quality food for fish and corals. And we would like to discuss with them about what makes fish and coral food a good quality, what are the components, what type of organisms do you need to feed these animals, which in many cases are carnivores. Sometimes we call them herbivores. That is something that is not true. Not even tanks are herbivores. But I'm really curious about the way you produce your food in the area, especially in the area where you are located, which in some sense is close ecologically to the Everglades, in the sense that it is kind of a wetland. So some of the regimes, climatic regimes that you have are similar with the difference taken in consideration. So I will let Ryan, one of our coral interns, to start the discussion, and I'll be jumping in and just having a nice chat.
Brilliant.
Is there anything that you would like to introduce about your company before we continue?
Yeah, well, I can say as Adrian and Luis, myself, we're on the sales side. Adrian is also our technician. He's also marine biologist, so he has a much greater knowledge in terms of technical stuff, which I'm sure it will be very interesting for everyone. And yeah, we're happy to join you. We're happy to for these kind of things to be done because they are good to build a hobby and to improve the knowledge in the market for people starting and from people that have been long time in it. So yeah, let's go and start.
Perfect. So first, I want to start off with just the basics of food and nutrition for your tank. So when you start with the tank, what are the basic nutritional accolades that you want to contribute to your tank? So how do you start knowing what to feed your tank before you actually put food in? So identifying your organisms and then the requirements for the food is important to a tank. And I just want to get your input on what do you think is the best way to start that feeding?
But to start a new tank or start feeding the tank?
Yeah,
I believe that Brian, his question is more like, how do you understand what you should feed a reef tank? How can you distinguish if it is more protein based? You know that a lot of because right now I believe you're talking about dry food, pelletized food and flakes, etc., or is just in
We have
general?
pellets, only pellets.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start, just from knowing exactly what goes into your tank before you put it in your tank, and knowing what food requirements everything in your tank needs before you add something that may be unnecessary or that you might not want in your tank.
Yeah, definitely. So the place to start is thinking of it also a bit like we do for humans, right? So when you go to the supermarket to buy some food, of course, taking to account that your aquarium is already in equilibrium, the parameters are right, and all the cycles are done. But of course, what you want to think about is to find a food that ensures that the ingredients have a high quality. Also, when you go to the supermarket and check the food, you normally don't like the food that includes a huge list of ingredients that probably are trying to hide that the ingredients have a very low nutritional profile. Of course, there are cases, no? But what you try to see is a food that has few ingredients, but that the ingredients that have sense and have also a quality, no? So this is also very important. Then, of course, it's very important to check what are the signs from your aquarium after using this food. Of course, the quantity of food, us manufacturers always give a recommendation because, every tank is different. Every tank has more or less biomass. Every tank will require different quantities. But of course, the important is what are the ingredients inside? Is it full of conservants? Is it full of artificial amino acids and etc.? Or are they using, the natural ingredient to feed your animals? How you will see this? Of course, in lower mortality, better coloration, growth on your fish, behavior. So of course, these are signs that you really need to check when you start using a new feed, and also looking at the ingredients to know what to select.
Yeah, I like what you said with the ingredient list, but how can you tell it's accurate? Because I know some companies, they don't either put they put general labels on their ingredients, or they won't, exactly put. So for you guys, how do you know that it's pure ingredients that you're putting in and that you're making?
Definitely, this is sad on one side, because this
Yep.
is also marketing, and we know how marketing has become, that we try to say this, but then in the back, maybe there is more than we were really being given as customers. But of course, what we can say, at least in Europe, because, we know that better, of course, the Europe regulation is that there are very strict controls in the pet food industry. So in our case, we will have every year at least a couple of inspectors coming in random times. They will take samples and they will analyze not only the food, but even also on the hands of our workers to make sure that, everything is clean and there will be no cross-contamination. So of course, I cannot speak for all the companies in the sector, which I'm sure that most are doing well. Always there will be a case of people trying to hide some stuff around, but I think, and I really trust on the regulation, at least in order to be able to say that the feeds are safe, and that. Of course, it will always depend. When we go to the supermarket to buy a steak or to buy something, we never know exactly. But, we know that we don't get sick, and all of these things. I don't know if this more or less helps you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, that definitely does. I was looking into your process, and I saw that it was lyophilization. You guys take, raw proteins, raw ingredients, and then you process them in very good ways to preserve that protein value and all the nutritional value of the food. Can you give me like a little bit of background into how that process works and how that differentiates from a lot of other producers that make food?
Yeah, definitely. So in this sense, I think that we are really a difference compared to other nutrition companies in the sector, because we control our own raw materials. So we harvest them in Doñana, as you say, as I think you already read over, and we harvest it and we straight away freeze dry it. So what we gain with this is that the ingredients, the nutritional properties are conserved. So then it just arrives to our factory and the ingredient is good to go, so that we can process in different ways. We like to say that we move from nature to the aquarium, in perfect conditions. So I think this really makes a difference. Also, the phytoplankton that we use is freeze-dried. So, as you know, the freeze drying process is a process where instead of doing, for example, a long time ago and still today, it's used the sun dried. It's a process. Maybe Adrian can tell you a bit more in the technical side, but where you dehydrate the product, but in a vacuum. So therefore, it doesn't go through all the stages, and this helps to not break the molecules inside the cells and be able to conserve the feed much better.
It changed from solid to gas just in one moment, not liquid inside. All the things are kept inside the animal. We are not losing this in this process anything, because with liquid it's very easy to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So of
I
course,
guess that when you mean losing is that when you are sun drying something that is exposed with water, the vitamins and the proteins are going to start decomposing, and by the end, the profile that you get is not the same that you had in the fresh animal. While with fresh dried, you are basically preserving in the moment the qualities of the food as much as you can.
It's the fatty acids, the main problem.
I know. Normally, the more fatty acids that any fish protein has, the
That
worse,
lose at
because
the first time that they are died.
it becomes rancid. Yeah.
Yes, and we take it alive and do it all this process with the shrimp alive, because we don't lose nothing.
Exactly. The freeze dryer is already in the place where we near the marsh, so it's just harvested and freeze dried. And this also helps, obviously, that the ingredients have a longer lifespan and conservation. Actually, obviously, we need to put an expiration date, but we have massed examples from the beginnings that we open to see. I can tell you with many years. Of course, they cannot be sold, but where we see that the degradation has been very, very small. And of course, it's thanks to this process. When you use also sun-dried ingredients, normally in the formulation, you will also need to use extra vitamins, supplements, exactly. And of course, it's like for humans, it's better to eat a steak or eat the vegetables that include these vitamins than taking later a pill to supplement it, no? Because these are synthesized and the body is not able to absorb the same as from the natural ingredients, no? So I think it's important to always think in this sense, but yeah, the freeze drying process really makes a difference in the product, but it's also an expensive procedure. So obviously, if they're trying to sell something cheap that is freeze dried, you really need to look more into it and see if it's really freeze dried.
I'm curious because, sorry, Ryan, I'm curious because the process of freeze drying, does it affect the size of the crystals that can form inside of the organism? Do you control the speed at which they freeze dried? Or there is no such a big difference if the freeze drying is slower or faster? Because that the speed is...
It's faster. It's faster. It's very fast.
So
but
it's basically...
And with the animal alive.
Yeah, so it's basically...
It's not good to say.
in case you have any ice crystal forming inside the animal, it's going to be tiny, which is the same thing that we see in our freezers when they are not cooling properly. We start having that layer of ice just because it's freezing slower. So,
it's important that it will be fast.
Exactly.
And so close the time when you take it from the natural environment.
Exactly. It's also different if we will take the shrimp, we froze it, and then we freeze dry it. But in this case, what we are doing is taking it fresh from the marsh and freeze drying it directly.
And this is what we could control all the process. Because if we buy the shrimp, it's different. We take the shrimp very close to our location.
Exactly.
I like that. So there's not a lot of, like you said, there's supplements that need to be added to make up for that lost nutrition value if you air dry or sun dry. What's the difference between, let's say air dried adding supplements or the full supplements that you get from a freeze drying? So is there any supplements that you add to the freeze drying that you add to boost the nutritional value of the food, or do you just only add freeze dried ingredients?
Of course, always you will need to have some kind of supplementation, because even if you make the most the best production process to keep all the nutritional profile, it's going to affect somehow the ingredients. But as I said, the big difference is from the natural ingredient, from the natural form of the vitamins, of the amino acids, of everything. This is very easy for humans and also for other organisms, like fish in this case, to assimilate. However, if we have a food that is more empty, let's say, in these amino acid, vitamins, and things, and you then supplement it with synthesized amino acids, this is not so easy for the fish to assimilate. So, of course, you are losing a lot of profiles, of good things that you could have, from a natural way.
We have all the aminogram complete in mastic, maybe.
Exactly.
You have all the things inside, and we don't need to put more in supplement because we have it with this kind of product. I think it's 8 ingredients, no? It was 8 ingredients that we play, and we could take a very good nutritional value with this. Also, that we use the phytoplankton.
Exactly.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of other companies would supplement with other ingredients, but I was looking at you guys, and you have a lot of microalgae, a lot of microplankton or phytoplankton that you'll add in addition to that to benefit, the nutritional value. Is there can you explain more about what you add and those phytoplankton and the microalgae and what they do to help that food?
Yeah, so in the end, we use more than one microalgae because, of course, one microalgae cannot add what four of them do, no? So, of course, we know as a crisis for the EPA, ARA, DHA, from some really interesting stuff. Also, we use the Phaeodactylum, the Tetraselmis, the Nanochloropsis. And thanks to this, we are able to, as Adrian said, to complete the aminogram and be able to serve a complete food. Also, thinking about how is done in the natural environment. So as we know, the trophic chain starts with the phytoplankton, then we go to the zooplankton. So what we are trying to replicate is the same. We don't want to give fish things that honestly, it's just impossible that they eat, in the natural environment, like wheat, carrots, potatoes.
Yeah.
It's impossible, no? Soya beans, it's not possible. So we're trying to replicate this. Like Adrian said, we have a few ingredients that have very nice properties that maybe also Adrian can give a few more now.
Yes, when you say that, what do you need for a tank? We have thinking about this. Entonces, we have Easy Booster, that is phytoplankton, that you add to the tank to create a zooplankton, your own zooplankton population in your reef tank. And this zooplankton is going to feed in a natural way your corals. Entonces, we have this product that is only phytoplankton. It's a mix between all of these microalgae. And in another way, we mix this microalgae with Cameroon or with the shrimp, what we were talking about it. And with this, we give more proteins to feed the corals. So we think that you have different products to feed the corals, that maybe it just depends, like a final customer, maybe in jellified, because do you want to put with doser, or maybe in polvo?
Yeah, in dry powder,
In powder, if you want maybe to target directly to your corals or whatever, because this is very different, because if you have 8 hours per light, 12 hours per light, it's not the same. If you have a big skimmer, if you don't have a big skimmer, it changes a lot. So just the problem is the final customer always want to say, okay, 2 milliliters per 100 liters every day, and all the corals front. Now, this is very difficult because the customer have to change the dosification because the corals are different. I read in the past that the corals maybe are the most specific predators in the nature, because you have corals maybe with a mouth like this, that they could eat one fish completely, and there are another corals with a very teeny mouth that you have to feed with another food. It's very difficult because in a reef tank, it used to be maybe 20, 30, 40 or different species that is not so natural that they live so close. That in one side, you have to do it, because maybe if we were talking about gorgonia, gorgonies. With the gorgonies, maybe it's very the current of water in 1 or 2 liters more, and the gorgony close the mouth. They are very, very, very specialized. Entonces, it's very difficult. It's impossible to reproduce all the variety of species that the zooplankton have and phytoplankton. This is what we go to a main species that in the industry we know that they are very nutritional and they are very good. But this is because we produce Easy Booster for this. Because maybe the people use live rock, and in live rock there is going to be a lot of zooplankton that maybe you could feed and you could reproduce. It's very difficult to make a closed system that you say, okay, I only put this and everything is going to grow and it's going to feed the corals. This is difficult. We know that this is impossible. This is why we recommend supplement with other food like ESPS Evo or ESPS or ESLPS or these things. But you have to see, because you have to control always the parameters of the reef. Because if you feed and the parameters of nitrate and phosphate goes high, the gasification is not going to work with the corals. And this balance is very difficult to find, and every final customer have to find in his own reef aquarium. Because if you change the water 1 time per week, is one time per month, one time every day is
never.
This is what they change a lot of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never, which is my bet. Never see
Or
it.
never, or never. This is another way. There are
And
things about
sometimes you have to do it, but I prefer not to. I have two questions. So one is that something to realize is that the customer here in the US is benefiting from the European regulation, in which when you buy something, even if it's a product for a pet, the ingredients are what you are buying. You know what you are buying. In here, that doesn't happen. You can be buying fish food. It's not going to tell you specifically what it has. I mean, even things like dips or medication is not there. Even if it's a no.
in the US, forbidden all the medication for fishes in the last 5 years. Metroplex, Focus, all forbidden.
It has you know that it has some sense because you cannot start dosing freely. The hobby has a lot of people that basically say, "Oh, I have this problem. I'm gonna start throwing things."
No, yes.
Where are those things going? Since we are talking of phytoplankton, when I lived in Spain, I used to work in the Spanish Institution of Oceanography, and one of my projects was bioaccumulation. And the level of bioaccumulation in phytoplankton escalating into Sparosaurata, gillhead seabream, dorada.
Sí, dorado, Sparrow.
It was it was like, I'm not going to eat this fish ever again. but I think that we in here the customer benefits from that, from knowing what you are giving the fish. But now feeding phyto is becoming trendy, at least in here. You can go to different big distributors and buy phyto, bottle phyto, Rhodomonas, Troselmis. What is the difference between getting those phyto that are being produced, for example, right here, and getting
live phytoplankton?
Live phyto versus the one that we could get from you? Because I have seen that you do genetic profiles from your cultures, right?
I think it's important to understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important to understand that our company produces phytoplankton for human. So this is probably the main market. And then we are the branch that produces for fish. So of course, if pet food is very strict, for human consumption is even more. So as you say, we need to do genetic profiles. We have 2 molecular laboratories where every batch is checked to make sure that this is as it is and it has the standards that we require. But also with regard to the regulation, like you say, I'm not that sure about the US regulation, but I know that we need to comply with the FDA and their regulation, So I cannot say if it's better or worse because I'm not a professional expert
not
in this.
Comparing. I'm saying that the information that you get from your product, it's superior in terms of what is it that I'm feeding my animals. Some cases I don't know what I'm feeding my. Well, usually I know because, but the customer doesn't know. You can be buying Rhodomonas and assuming that you are giving a certain profile of fatty acids, but no one is doing the test in that specific culture and telling you that the profile is in there, or that the culture is lacking because it's not being fed properly, or that there is cross-contamination.
This is what I'm talking, because a lot of people do it and don't check if there is something more, if there is some pollute or something.
And you know that Rhodomonas is usually with cross-contamination is, you got it there. It's
in the end, we have a complete, we have more than 60 kilometers of tubes because we have the photobioreactors, but enclosed. They are in exterior, but they are enclosed system to avoid any kind of cross-contamination. And we know the huge protocols that we need to undergo before and after doing any culture. Here we have something similar to what you are mentioning, because it's getting more and more common that hobbyists do their own cultures, which is great in one sense, because you need to learn and have to do. But the problem is that you don't have control on what is in there. So they give you one green bottle of green water, and what's the cell concentration? What else is inside? Nitrates.
Where are you getting your water from? Are you sterilizing the container?
The you are going to put inside your tank, and when the live plankton go inside, they are going to die.
Exactly.
because you are going to change in one point all the pH, the conductivity, the temperature, and you also have the wave makers.
The
And
wave
the wave
makers,
makers are going to kill all the phytoplankton. This is why I think that it's better to add in the reef tank phytoplankton in jellyfied form, that you know what is here in the bottle. You know that in this form all the cells are completely, they are not broken cells. So
that's the other
cells,
thing.
yes,
You don't
from
know if your
phytoplankton
phyto is live or dead. You get
is
the
Yeah,
dead.
bottle,
exactly.
Is dead,
unless
but
unless you have spent hours counting them in a new hour chamber, you can tell, ah, this is gonna be most likely dead. You don't know if you are feeding dead cells into your tank, you are boosting your nutrients, and you're not feeding anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
this is now in Spain, this fashion games, o sea, or this moda, I don't know the name
It's
good in English.
fashion trends,
Yes,
yes,
fashion.
right?
This fashion and all the reef store are always, oh, it comes live phytoplankton, and all the people is going to buy. And I don't think that they have the good results in the aquarium, because there are people who started to do this with low experience and started to feed a lot. They don't have too much corals in this moment. They have a very few frags. And they started to feed a lot with live phytoplankton, and they are putting inside all the nutrients that the phytoplankton
Yeah.
culture have.
And the
And
phosphates spike, yeah.
yes, and then dinoflagellados. Boom.
Yeah.
Claro, and this is I think that this thing that the people have to think that is very difficult if you think, because I think there are final customers that think that they are going to put phytoplankton in the reef aquarium and they are going to grow and they are going to close the cycle. This is not true. They are going to die in 2 minutes. There are no phytoplankton alive. It's like, I think it's better our option, of course, for the final customer. If you have your own cultures in your home, and you could check how is the culture, and you could use your own water and everything, it could be a good option, and you are breeding more. But from a final customer that you have a reef aquarium in your saloon, I think that this kind of product is much better than start buying one bottle every week from live phytoplankton.
Which is what we are gonna start doing at some point when we continue with our project, is building our own phyto production, but it's gonna be students suffering and counting every day the cells and changing, and you need to take this concentration, remove the rest, sterilize the bottles, and change the culture. So it is a process that you think, oh, it's not just phytoplankton. No, it's not
No,
just phyto. It's
Yeah.
there are more things.
When you start to do it, you see what are the challenges, no? So then you understand that probably when they're giving you a closed bottle of green water, is it really live? With how difficult it is to make sure that the culture is, alive and continue growing. How is able to be in a bottle 1 week and still alive? It's important that you check and you study and you find information to know. We sell an option that is easy, but as we say, if people are able to make their own culture and have a specific control, that's also a valid option. Why not?
no,
We sell
but
for this because we have
your
easy art and easy roti. That this is from feed your own culture at your home. So we give product to the final customer to do this at home.
whichever option is, it will be great for us, especially for like holidays when there is less people around. It's a way of making sure that we can put the tank on and out of feed that is not only gonna be pelletized. Luckily, our antias and our more finicky fish go after the pellets. We have trained them to go after them. But something like that is definitely something to consider, because as you mentioned, you're giving a gel. Is similar to the cryopreservation that you are doing, in the sense that the properties are in there. And when you put that in the water, you're not going to have an osmotic shock. You're not going to have a problem with the pH, or less problem with the wave makers. So I think that's interesting. I have one more question, and I'll leave Ryan, because you mentioned that you have reactors outside. So basically receiving sunlight. How can you control that you don't have algal growth on the walls of your reactors? Obviously, you have flow, but can you control totally that there is not cross-contamination, that you don't have any other, or a biofilm of bacteria, of photosynthetic bacteria growing on your reactors? Is that an issue for you?
Yeah, well, like Adrian was saying, on the one side, it's not able to be done in a continuous way. I'm sure that probably the people that are on the phytoplankton plant can give you much more insight on this, as we are
Yes,
on
we take
the fish division, the fish nutrition division. We already get the phytoplankton, so I've been able to see the systems and everything, but probably they can give you more insights.
I think that they restart the culture in
Yeah, I
every
imagine.
and I started, and I think that with a very good, well, when I saw it in pictures, because it's like they are like in laboratory with
Yeah,
everything,
exactly.
and I think that all the bacteria conditions and other algae that could pollute this culture are controlled. But it's true that
Yeah.
I don't know the way because
Yeah,
we
so I imagine that it would be very similar than when you are growing them in an experimental lab, that you have to restart the culture after a number of days, in which you take a portion, use it, you need to waste the rest because it could be polluted, and then clean everything and
Yeah, no, and of
start
course the
with it.
culture don't start in the photobioreactors, no? It starts in the laboratory from small, you get
Yeah,
bigger,
yeah, yeah.
goes to outside for the scaling. Anyways, as we would like to give you this information, I think that I can take note. I will find information, and maybe when you upload the podcast, maybe you can put in the comments
I can put
for more
put in the
insight
I
here.
can add
And I will
text
send you
and
this information, and maybe the
sure,
people can also learn a bit more about it.
that would be great.
Definitely.
Ryan, sorry, I cut you a lot.
No, it's all right. I'm really interested about the environmental aspect of it. I know you guys said you have a special region, the Donata region.
Yes.
How it's easy for you guys to, or it's beneficial that area to produce, your product. How will you be able to replicate that in other places? Like if someone wanted to do that in another place, is that easily replicatable and, can it spread and get bigger and, scale up
I really
the,
think it's
think it's
not an
difficult.
easy task, because we are
yeah, of
speaking
course.
about Doñana is the biggest wetlands in Europe. It is a
Yep.
natural park and also a biosphere reserve, and it's very complicated to work with this in these places because, of course, there is a huge control, and what happens is that there is an excess capacity of this specific shrimp in Doñana. So if we didn't remove it, this will cause some problems for the park.
For the
So
environment.
actually removing this excess, which is the only we can take, we are helping it to be able to maintain the equilibrium. So I think that be able to replicate this in a different place will be absolutely very complicated. But
Yeah.
in this way, because it's natural way, maybe if you mix with aquaculture of shrimps or for Cameroon, that it happens in some places in South America, I think that it could be. Because now it's like, Doñana is like our manglar, So it
Yeah.
is the most similar, well, it's not like a manglar, but this kind of environment. This is what we use, this kind of environment that is very, very specific in Europe. But I think that also in some manglars, in Ecuador or in this place, they could do something very close to us.
we are very
Yeah,
lucky, because we have
yeah,
the Mediterranean and the Atlantic climatic influence, which give us a very high biological value ingredient. And, we own a treasure of nature, and we need to do the best to share it, with everyone. So,
Yep.
so this is how we need to do it. But of course, it's very important to maintain it. And this is why
Yep.
there are people organizing over there. There are ecologists, there are biologists, there is people that know about it. And the point is make it work for the next 50, 100, for forever. So of course, it's not like you can take there anything you want without control.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at, because I like the way that you guys have those measures to prevent that. And I know a lot of places around the world necessarily don't have those. Like Southeast Asia, there's shrimp farms. They do a lot of land clearing of mangroves to produce shrimp farms that will affect, the environment around them and kind of, degrade some parts of the environment around them. But you guys provide a more sustainable method of doing that. And I was just wondering, if we could copy that and almost, scale it to other parts of the world to bring that, sustainability factor to other places.
I really think that this should be the way to do, Of
Yeah.
course, replicate exactly this. it's complicated, but there can be applications, no? But I believe that it should be the way to go because, well, in general, we are destroying the planet, no? So we need to do something about it and try to preserve it for the future generations in the best way we can. We try to, all of the shrimp is harvested by hand. So with old techniques, with a small nets, or
Yeah,
this small, like they have been using it, I don't know, for 50 or hundreds of years, but there is no machines doing it because this doesn't help. And also about the excess, it's very interesting because if we would leave all this excess shrimp, the Mars probably would be ruined. And, this place is a lovely place where the flamingos come, where many type of birds come. And thanks to this, they are able to feed and we are able to enjoy this magnificent area.
But I think that if you want to escalate to another place, you need to find this excess of biomass that it maybe can produce for another crustaceo, for another shrimp, or for another animal. Because the problem is that you need to investigate a lot in this kind of environment to find which you can to use for this. Because here we have this kind of Cameroon that we could use, but I'm sure that in other kind of environments there are another type, because species of shrimps there are a lot and in different sizes, bigger, small.
Yeah.
Did you know where this excess of shrimp comes from? In the sense that they are native. If there is an excess, where is the predator? I mean, certainly there are birds that are predators,
Doradas.
but if there is an excess, where is that coming from? Because that's something that I wanted to mention, right? I mean, we all know that Doñana lately hasn't been doing especially good, not really good. So is that affecting your shrimp population? And at the same time, you have that excess of biomass, but where is that coming from?
Honestly, about the excess biomass, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie you. I'm not sure about it. But what I know is that thanks to being able to maintain, because there is this shrimp, but in the Mars there is also a different kind of fish for human consumption. I'm sorry, but I don't know the specific species in English. Dorada, you say.
Sparrow.
There are.
Gillhead sea bream.
Exactly. So, thanks to this, there is an equilibrium. Then is the seasons where the birds come. And, there are so many kinds of species of animals in Doñana that benefit from this, that is crazy.
Now maybe we have to wait in this summer. We have to wait to take the Cameroon because there are not too much, because there are too much high temperature in this summer, and the produce was less.
Exactly.
This is a very complicated because maybe in a shrimp have a lot of stages. And in all of stages, it could affect a lot of things. Predators, temperature, rains. Maybe if there rains a lot, it's going to change, maybe for good, in a good way, maybe in a bad way. This is a life. Entonces, it's true that I think that we don't know all the complexity factors that affect the population from Cameroon. Entonces, we need to wait when the people say, okay, now there is good population, there are a lot, and the size is good. Just, okay, this is when we could take these animals. If we are not allowed, because the scientists or the biologists who works in Doñana say that this is not the moment, because there are a lot of factors. There are factors that include maybe the culture of some vegetables 100 kilometers away, that maybe there is a very big rain and takes all of the
nutrients into the
nutrients, and it could be a growth. We are working with natural animals.
Obviously. No, my curiosity was because
all the stages.
Yeah. No, my curiosity was because when you have an excess of biomass it looks like probably a foundational prey for the ecosystem. It can be either because we have removed the predator, because we have changed the land, because we have modified the water flow, all of it together. And I was just curious to know about if you were aware about why they are in there, but usually that is because there is a combination of factors.
Yes,
Exactly.
and I think that they change, no, from
Yeah,
different
exactly. It's
balsas.
not, yeah, actually.
So they have different parts of water that maybe they are moving water from another. They are looking, okay, in this part there are a lot, here no, we are going to open. So it's not no, it's not a 100% natural.
Right.
The
That's
human
not possible
factor,
nowadays.
yes, there are human factors that controls and try to change to improve this population, because it's the camarón that they eat in this part of Spain. It's very similar to omelette, you know, tortilla de camarón.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah. Quisquilla.
Quisquillas, sí, las quisquillas.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
It's
So
a
yeah,
factor.
no. No, I mean, in the end, we become the apex predators. The thing is that it is a well-managed system or not, and it seems like you have there a well-managed system that can be used for the hobby,
We hope.
Yeah.
hopefully.
Hopefully.
I want to ask a question about the phytoplankton, about your process of doing that. I understand the shrimp, they you have the large areas to grow them. How does your phytoplankton production kind of differ from that, and what are the key things to a successful production of phytoplankton and algae, the microalgae?
It's completely different, of course, no?
Yeah.
At the end, the phytoplankton production starts in a laboratory. So, in Doñana, you don't see that many people with the white clothes, with everything covered.
Glasses. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas, in the phytoplankton plant, this is the normal. So,
Yeah.
of course, it's completely different because the start is also covered. We have a roof and we have a higher control. So when you can control everything, of course, it's much easier, but it is still a challenge, because phytoplankton is so fragile in the earlier stages and probably also in the later ones that it's complicated. But anyways, it's very different. It's more about, constant tests, laboratories, doing lots of analysis to make sure that everything is in the optimal point, because we produce the phytoplankton for different purposes, and we require that it has a specific profile. So it can be that we have a phytoplankton that we need, but it's not ready, So this is the thing. And normally when you have a live food, it's more complicated to control all of this. How are you able in your house with your home laboratory to control all of the parameters, no? So in that sense, it's completely different, like the natural, the wild, and on the other side, the laboratory and the pure.
Yeah. Yeah, I also was going to ask about the phytoplankton, the lyophilization process of how, you can preserve and save that nutrient compound, and then also add it to your shrimp, add it to or take it solely in the gel form or in that and provide it to your tank. So,
yeah, absolutely. In the end, what we receive, is a processed phytoplankton that has been either freeze-dried or has been kept on a paste. And of course, I cannot speak a lot about this paste, because it's company technology, but it helps a lot on the preservation. On the freeze dry, for the process, and on the paste, as much as I can say,
Agilify.
Yeah, and on both we use depending on what we want. So the jellified form, we use it for the liquids, obviously, whereas the freeze-dried comes in a powder that we use to mix with the shrimp, or in other products we use just for mixing. There is many different types of applications.
This is lyophilized phytoplankton, only phytoplankton. This is the first product that this company produced 15 years ago, and it's in powder.
So
this is in powder.
What happens with the powder is that it's great product, is the way to have the greater control. But nowadays we are lazier, and we have less time, and what we want is to have it easy, auto-dosed. So normally we prefer to have a liquid that is automatically dosing. We don't want to have a blender to mix the phytoplankton with the water, then dose it into aquarium. So, but what we would try to have is different options for different type of customers. I know there's people that have kids, that have children, that have to work, and they want, but they don't have time. So we try to give an option for these people. There is other people that want to be the whole day with their aquarium, doing some little changes, little stuff, and there is also products for them.
It's another part from the hobby.
Yeah. I was also wondering about like the microbiome in tanks. So I know it's very specific, and a lot of people, different products will have different, cultures of bacteria, different types of phytoplankton. Is there anything that can conflict, that where two species won't exactly share the space, or one will outcompete another one in there? Is there a certain type of product that you can put in your tank that's more beneficial than, let's say, another generic product?
We don't see any difference between with bacteria, that there are some products of ours that are good or there are worse, because this part is also very difficult to study all the biota from the reef aquarium, also from the corals, also from fishes. But we think that our product, maybe it had to be good because they are very simple. They have all the things, and it maybe if they are good in a bad way. Maybe if you put all the things inside your aquarium, you are going to take a boom from something.
Yeah.
Because the product is good. But we don't see nothing that takes a conflict with any kind of bacteria in reef aquarium.
In the end, we try to keep it simple. So we have low processing of our foods, which helps to have a higher digestibility. So of course, this helps. When we are adding, many conservants, many artificial ingredients, is when also the problems start to become more serious, no? And probably is when we have many problems with the digestive system and other things.
So you don't use any probiotics in your food? You don't add any?
No.
Probiotics actually in Europe are forbidden.
Are forbidden in Europe.
Even in pet food?
Yeah.
We also have in the past the chicken food, and we can take it now from Europe for this.
So yeah, it's very complicated. So
No,
of
no,
course, you really need to find the natural ingredient that has the natural source, and in this sense, be able to complete the food,
Yeah.
But trying to then add parts, to the spaces is complicated. So it's much better to have a high biological value ingredient and mix it to have the complete formulation and the complete aminogram, and not then adding other stuff that is where the problems actually start. Another thing about our shrimp, which is interesting compared to other foods, is that we don't use fish meal, which is probably the star ingredient in fish feeds, no? So fish meal, as we know, they don't take the fillet and they take it only and do the fish meal with this. They take also the spines, which we know that have a high content on phosphates, which then arrive to your aquarium. So the little shrimp that we use doesn't have this kind of phosphate, so the protein to phosphate ratio is much higher. Therefore, it's also helpful for your tank, for the microbiome of your fish, and for everything actually.
I think that also something else that is important about not using fish meal, even though we use it for land animals for farm feeding, is that usually those are coming from residual fisheries that we don't use, or clupates, or small fish that we are not so interested in using, and we overfish, we mash them, and we transform that into fish meal. So even though it is really important to reduce the number of phosphates that you're putting into your tank, another important thing is that you are not exploiting a fishery, or you're reducing the exploitation of a fishery, like with the menhaden, or with, as I mentioned, there are so many clubates that are not consumed by us, but are used for fish meal, like for example, for salmon feeding. Salmon feeding all is fish meal.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that reminds me to a video that it was popular a few days ago about someone quite popular lately, feeding the tank with uni, with salmon, with squid, basically with apex predators. You are feeding fish that never in their life will get that food.
Yes.
And even when I was working in the industry here in the US, my boss wanted to feed that way. He wanted to feed with tuna. He wanted to use mahi-mahi. It's like, do you want to feed an apex predator to your fish? Yes, because they are going to produce more poop and are going to feed the core. I said, I don't think that that's how it's going to work. But so that's something important about your brand that I like, that is that it is on the opposite side of the sustainability. We cannot be talking about things like raising, I don't know, yellow tanks or the convict tank recently that is being raised, and at the same time feeding them things that are being overfished from the ocean. So
Yes, this is one of the big problems. I think that in the future, you could close the cycle with phytoplanktons, maybe crustaceans, mollusks, and then feed the fish. But now I think that it's still cheaper to take this from the sea than to study this and produce this that need a very big installation.
no, if you need to do a mesocostoms, it's gonna be really expensive.
Yes, it's very expensive, but I think that is going to be the way, because now we are fishing for to feed fish that there are not in the sea, because we fish everything. Claro, there are no more things to fish.
No, there
Yeah.
is one company in Canada and in the northeast of the US that is a salmon company. It's an inland farm. They use the RAS system, the recirculation
Yes.
system, and they are only using to feed their animals black fly soldier larvae. So they basically grow from food waste, and then they take the larvae, and that's what they are using to feed their salmon. And the profiles and everything is being similar, and even in some levels are getting better than the ones that are being fed with fish meal. So
Yes.
as you said, is the way to go if we continue betting on aquaculture, which is obviously what we are going to continue doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now
absolutely.
in fresh water, there is some brands who have insect flour, consider
Yeah, meal, insect meal.
insect meals
Yeah.
that appears in a few years, and I think that is better from freshwater fish, because they are more used to eat some kinds of insects that not a big fish that there
You
is
know,
not.
cichlids in captivity, for example, in the hobby or in the for food production, they are fed insects, either
Yeah.
larvae or adults, but they are freeze dried, and they are fed insects, and they are perfectly maintained with that. So
Okay. I think that is going to be the way in the future to mix these things between insects, between phytoplankton, between zooplankton, to make a good meat or for to feed aquaculture. This is one of the main focus for this brand when he started to make a very good food from aquaculture, because in Spain there are a lot of fish consumption, and it's necessary.
Yeah, I
we are
mean,
we're one of the largest fisheries in the nation,
Yes,
in the world.
the world,
but
Japan,
Yeah.
and then next.
in the end, we are
Japan
also
and
speaking.
then Spain. Yeah,
And then
well,
Yeah,
Spanish vessels, the crew is different.
yes,
but in the end, we are speaking about price, you know. Of course, the price of the fish meal is very different to, for example, a shrimp meal that has been freeze-dried, you know, or using phytoplankton. You know, it's maybe in some time it will become, you know, much cheaper because it's more common to produce the phytoplankton and everything around, and probably is more, it has a price for, you know, for a mass market. But at the moment, still, it's impossible to compare. And in aquaculture, where they're just looking for cost, it's
Yield
impossible.
production, yes.
So there needs to be a change in the mindset too, you know.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to educate the public, like telling people this chicken that you are eating has eaten fish and
Oh,
it tastes like fish. You can believe it or not, but that's what you are eating. So that's another part, educating the people. So do you think that your company also has, or does your company also has an eye on using your food production technique for human food production? So to grow to aquaculture, fish or any other organism?
well, on one side, you know, our company also sells fish from these marsh that are eating this exact shrimp. And we have also a project where we do some feeds for aquaculture. The problem is that at this time, it's very complicated, you know, because as I'm saying, it's a matter of cost, you know, and there is a point where we cannot reach, you know, what they are asking. If you compare the price of a ton of soya, you know, of potato and of everything, it's impossible, you know, it's just out of the table. So we try, and it's important to make them see the difference, because we have been able to do tests and they are able to see, you know, the high, the increase in the decrease in the mortality rates, the faster growth, the better coloration, all of this. But on the one side, the cost is very complicated, and also this industry has been running for many years. So changing, you know, this mindset is very complicated. So as you say, it needs to start, you know, from the base, from education, and time after time, I'm sure that we will be able to arrive there. But it's, I don't think it's a short-term
No, it's difficult.
task.
But if you feed the fish maybe with our product that we tasted, the fish have another flavor. It's incredible. So it's, because that all the fatty acids things, it's like it's more quality fish when they are fed with our product than the other fish that you could have in the market. But obviously you have to show this to the customer. The customer wants to pay this extra value. If they don't want it, this is what is difficult, because the fishes that maybe they are now in aquaculture in Spain, they are produced from cheap base. So it's like maybe if you go to tunas, okay, in tunas you are.
That's what I was gonna say. Go to Murcia.
This is another level. This is another level. But the level that is more common in fish market in Spain is very difficult for us, because they need a size very, very quickly in this period of time, and they only looking from the size and from the weight. And if you say, okay, no, but the flavor is going to be much good, I say, well, no, it's not my. It's not
I understand.
I think that is going to come, because also with seafood is the same, because with seafood is very different. If you have a very big crab that is feeding with this food and is keeping properly, wow, this in flavor is incredible. That to have a crab in a very bad conditions with that they can eat because they have his pins. And I think that maybe in the future the people are going to appreciate this than to feed with soya, that they don't have any kind of flavor to the fish.
Yeah, no, we are seeing that, for example, with oysters here, aquaculture oysters. It's blooming, the industry of aquaculture in oysters, and they are doing a type of vertical culture in which they basically lay the oysters racks, and at the bottom they put cages with crabs and lobsters that are fed with the food that falls, and at the same time they have kelp forest, so they harvest the kelp. They use the kelp to feed the cattle. They get the oysters that keep the water clean for the lobsters or the crabs, wherever they maintain. And at the same time, they are rebouncing local populations of Gadidae, so either haddock or cod. And they are saying, you only need a vessel, a piece of cord, and the permits. And that's all you need. So it's a model that is starting to work.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I think that is the way, this kind of circles.
Yeah. No, also as we continue depleting the ocean populations, we don't have other option, because the population grows and everyone wants. So I think this shows how something like what you are doing for the aquarium hobby connects with higher necessities for human society, like food production. So in the same way that we have seen, or we know that at the beginning, the main challenge of aquaculture in fish is that, number one, we eat predators from the ocean. We don't eat the middle guys. We eat the big ones. It was that the larvae didn't have anything to eat. And then we discovered, hey, brine shrimp is something that fits in their mouth. And then Greece started with European sea bass. And then we jumped and now we have 4 main species being aquaculture, which is what I think that is making possible many things that we do nowadays, like producing clownfish in captivity, or Bangai cardinal fish, or anything, because we know now what they need to eat.
I know, because I started in this industry, I think in 28, and there is not everything are wild, everything. When I left in 2015, maybe 20% started to be breeding, and now much more. This growing a lot. These things in the past, only clownfish. But now you have centropices, angels, tanks, and I think that is going to grow. But it's the same in fisheries here in Spain. Here in Spain, 20 years ago, everything is wild. Now, no. Now, maybe 20-30% came from aquaculture. I think that is going to change to 100% in maybe 50 years, but it had to come.
Yeah, there are not many other options, honestly.
No.
So Ryan, how are you? Do you have more questions?
No, I like to follow up with like that building of the ecological role. I found it very interesting how you can start from the phytoplankton, the most basic, almost food source, and kind of build up from that. And like you were saying, the future of agriculture or aquaculture, I think is coming from taking that most basic trophic level and then, building up a whole food web through that and being able to sustain our population, the human population with aquaculture is definitely going to be the future. And I do think you guys are paving the way for that. Right now, it's in the aquarium hobby, and like you said, you feed to human consumption. But I do think that this market is going to grow, and it's definitely a benefit to wild fish populations, to helping other places that might not be as sustainable as you guys, to help scale up that and put us on a more sustainable path to getting nutrients. So I just want to say I like the work you guys are doing, and it's very good. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate
Thank
the
you.
words, and yeah, I think that probably it's not only us, of course, in the market, but I think that a lot of
Yeah.
people are already realized that there must be done, in a different way. That 50 years ago, values and ways of working are not possible anymore, and we need to open our mind and think in the future and how we can do it. Us in the nutrition, but also with companies in the captive breeding, it's a whole cycle, a whole market that really needs to think about it, because in the end, if we don't do this, our hobby is dead,
Yeah.
So we really need to do it, in all the steps of the market, from the hobbyist to the producers to the people in the middle, from the shops, everyone, because it's something for all of us, while we are a little the crazy people in the pet industry, because 90 something percent is dogs and cats. So we are the little freaks in the corner, but we really need to be together, to do this and do it the right way.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. Like you said, it's not just about us humans. I mean, from the basic, even our pets, we care for our pets and we want the best for them. You don't want to feed them processed food or generic fish meal that you don't know where it's coming from. And then also on the flip, you don't know how it's affecting the environment. If they're being caught unsustainably, if there's wild populations that you're affecting. So I do think that aquaculture and being able to know where your product comes from and know the effect that it has definitely is a benefit to not just pet trade, but fish, dogs, even us humans. We can all benefit from it. So
Humans.
Completely agree
yeah.
with you. I mean, it's how it is, and luckily it's starting to be more common, but it's a process, and it's a long process. And I think that the young generations that are coming are really pushing in the right way, but it's a matter of time. It's not possible to change, the old standards in just a few years. But I think we are in the right path, and we need to keep the good job and keep with the same mentality.
Yeah. Exactly.
Definitely.
So what else?
Let's see. Do you have anything else?
I think
No?
that's about it. Reading
Okay.
over.
Sure.
So something else is that, as I mentioned, Ryan started with us a few months ago. All the process, building the tanks, quarantining. Next week we are receiving how many corals, Ryan? 34?
A
A
lot,
lot.
yeah. 28
So
plus 5.
Nice.
So, but it is a great change and an evolution in knowledge and in how to understand a system, how to see how they are doing, understanding that they are alive, even though they are inside a glass, they see you, they recognize you. So you mentioned young generations, and this is an example. That's why we do these things.
Yes.
Yeah, I think many people should take the example, like Ryan is doing, and that's where you start, and we can help with this kind of podcasts. We can help, with more information but we also need people that like you that want to make the effort to learn, to get the knowledge, and then share it with others.
This is very important.
So this is so important.
That's the part of the podcast. So.
Yes.
And more things to come. So we also have YouTube videos that have to be edited, but all that it's to come, and we are having a great support in general from the industry. So
yeah, I wanna say, like from Easy Reef, we thank you for letting us join to this experience and for helping, because we think that is so important for the hobby. This is why we didn't doubt about it when you told me. We really were like, yeah, we are in.
Yeah, you were really good. Yeah.
We really want to do this type of things because it's good for the hobby for everyone, So
Yep.
So keep it up and continue the path.
Yeah, and if you come to Reefapalooza Orlando, we'll see you there, or
2025 for sure. We will see you there. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
and see if we can get some of your food. I'll try to get some of your food for Christmas,
Ah,
because I'm not gonna be
I'll
here.
make sure you get it. We'll chat
Because-
later.
Okay, so thank you very much for your time. We know
Yeah.
that it's kind of late in there in Spain.
No, in
we
Spain,
get
we have the dinner very late.
we get started like 12 hours ago in Spain. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.